In today's episode, we are taking one of my most viral TikToks and making a whole episode about it. Tune in to hear my top 5 things I would do if I thought one of my friends was suicidal. Welcome to the Suicide Prevention Lady podcast, where we make intervention easy. I'm your host, Dr. Ricky Turner, and I am a suicide intervention expert. Please take note, I am the thinky kind of doctor and not a medical professional, so please do not take anything in this podcast as medical advice. So, probably a year or so ago, there was this trend on TikTok, and it was like, if you're an expert, basically say what your top 5 things or top 5 things you would do or you wouldn't do. And I participated in that. Now, I was gone on a business trip when I did this, and I'm not big fry on TikTok, right? I have 30,000 or so followers. It's not a lot, but it's nothing to sneeze at the same time. And when this trend was going on, I jumped on it. I did a quick one. I thought of the things off the top of my head, and then I went back to work, and my phone was just bzz, 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 and I was like, what is going on? And it just really stirred something in people. So I was like, hey, let's draw off of that and talk about it. Now, there are some very obvious things that you can do if you're worried about somebody, right? I'm not going to tell you not to call a hotline. I'm not going to tell you not to get them help. I'm not going to, there are very standard, well-known things that are great. And if that is what you're comfortable with, do it. The reason I'm giving these 5 specifically is because these type of things are what is going to go so far with building trust with them. It's what's going to make them feel seen and loved. And it's things that just change the culture we have around mental health. So I want you to have these things that's like, oh gosh, that's so simple. I didn't realize the impact that could have. All right. So let's start with number 1. Listen without judgment. Listen without judgment. And if you're watching on video, you can see my face, but so many people listen to respond and do not listen to listen. When we are dealing with someone who has a mental health issue going on, you can't underestimate the power of listening to them and not being judgmental about what they say. It is really hard for those of us who have never experienced a suicidal thought or attempted suicide. We don't understand how someone could get there. The tropes that people say, don't let what is the suicide is a permanent fix to a temporary problem. That doesn't make anybody feel better. That's not what people want in that moment. In general, I'm not going to say that saying has never helped anybody, never say never, but in general, that is a pretty big signal to somebody that, hey, this person doesn't understand, doesn't get me. So listening without judgment. And what that means is it might be a very minor thing, whatever they're going through. Let's say it's a breakup. Okay. Let's use a breakup because a lot of people do experience suicidal ideation during a painful breakup. So let's talk about that, right? There are people listening right now who are like, I would never let a man or a woman or whatever. I would never let them dictate if I was going to live my life or not. Oh my gosh, I can't believe people do that. I can hear the thoughts now. I've had the thoughts. I have had them. So I know what I'm talking about here because I have never been suicidal. But in my effort to get better at it and to meet people where they are, I had to listen and had to listen with an open heart, open ears, and a shut mouth so that I could really hear what they were going through. Okay. And I'm going to liken this to like reasoning with a toddler, right? They've got a lot of big emotions. They've got a lot of things going on. And if you're trying to rationalize with them, over whatever it is that they're upset about. We know on the outside that this is not a life-altering event, but to them, it is. So we have to draw on our toolbox and allow them to be heard, allow them to get things off their chest and not say, well, other people have it worse. I mean, look at all these great things you have to live for. We don't need a dissertation. This is not where we are. If you've been in that position, you know, you have thought through all the things and you have a rebuttal for all the things that people are going to say. Life's better with you in it. Actually, I have these reasons right here that your life would be better if I wasn't. When you're trying to reason with a toddler, I assume that never goes well for you because you can't really reason with a toddler. This is a big deal to them. And even though we see it as the adult figure, we can't convince them that it's not a big deal. We either have to distract or we listen to them and let them be heard, let them be seen and feel like, okay, so I can trust this person because they're allowing me to feel this way. Feel the big feelings. It's okay. But that camaraderie that comes with allowing somebody to be their most vulnerable self and say the things that are on their mind, that they're believing about themselves, and know that you're not going to turn around and say, well, here's all the reasons you have to live for, and here's all the people who love you so much. I'm not saying those things aren't good necessarily, especially being like, okay, well, here's how you enrich my life. I bet you've never seen it from my point of view, but here's how my life is better because you're in it. But ultimately, it really comes down to, I'm here for you. I would love to hear everything that's on your mind. This is a judgment-free space right here. You can say, I would like to murder somebody. I have thoughts of suicide. Here's how I think I might do it. You can say every grievance that you have and every perception that you have of other people, whatever's going on, it doesn't matter. But this is a safe space. Whatever's on your mind, let it out, because it can be like a pressure cooker, especially if we are believing that no one else is going through this. So we can't possibly tell anybody, because if we do, they're going to judge us. They're going to think less of us. They're going to think we're stupid. They're going to think we're making it up, all of these different things. So we can't let it out, and we bottle it and we bottle it and we bottle it. And if you've ever bottled up your feelings before, you know the most random thing will set you off. And we don't want to let that happen. That's why listening without judgment is such a huge thing to help people when they're going through suicidal ideations. So start there. And I can't stress enough, it has to be without judgment. Saying things like you should, the word should ought not come out of your mouth at all when you're talking to somebody like this. Well, you should do this. Well, you should do that. Nope. No. We're not doing that. Should is shaming. That's what that is. We don't should on other people. Yes, that does sound like shit on other people. We also don't do that. So should be pretty easy to remember. Listen without the judgment. Let them speak. Number 2, if you don't know what to say or do, if you are flummoxed and you're like, oh, I don't want to make this worse. I'm so nervous going into this situation. Tell them that. Tell them. Be vulnerable. Tell them, I am so sorry that you're going through this. It scares me so much for you, for your safety. It scares me that I may say the wrong thing and make this worse for some reason. I don't know what to do, and I don't know what to say. Now, you can't stop it there. This is not a, hey, I'm suicidal. Oh, I don't know what to say or do. Bye. Nope, that's not what we're doing. We are expressing to them that, hey, I do not have the answers. I have no idea what I'm doing here. I feel grossly inadequate for this space. But I'm here. I am not leaving. We will figure this out together. Whatever it takes to keep you safe and keep you healthy and get you feeling better, get the pressure off of you, that's what we're going to do. So let's figure it out together. It's acknowledging, hey, I don't know what to do or say, but damn it, we're going to figure it out. Let's do this. When you couple those things together and you're listening without judgment, chef's kiss, you are on the right road. Okay. So that was number 2. Number 3, tell them how much they mean to you. Let them know. There's so many times, even in my marriage, I'll talk about that. I've been married for almost 20 years now. 18 years. So that does count as almost. And everybody gets in their feelings. You can't live with somebody that long and not have ups and downs. And, there are times that we get in our routines and, things get busy and hectic and we're just trying to keep our heads above water. And I know he experiences this too, but it's like, do they even like me? Like, do you even like me? And of course he does. Of course he adores me and I adore him. But there's just, things happen. And sometimes you need to hear from people in your life that you assume love you and like you, but sometimes it doesn't feel that way. It's the same thing with this. It's the same thing. People need to hear that they are loved and appreciated and valued. And if you are forgetting to do that with people, start now. My favorite challenge to people is to let somebody pop into your head. Who is somebody that if you got the news tomorrow that they have passed away due to suicide? What pops into your head is, God, I wish I would have told them this. I wish they would have known. And I want you to text that to them or call them and tell them that. It's hard. Oh my gosh, it's hard because you don't even know if they're thinking about it, right? But who is the person in your world that you would be devastated? And then let them know. Hey, I listened to this crazy lady's podcast and she put in this idea in my head and oh boy, I did not like it. So I want to make sure you know how much I love you and appreciate you and how much you enrich my life or whatever. Okay. And every time I think of that exercise, it's almost always my son because I can't imagine living life without my son in it. I can't see it. I cannot see it without him. And so it always pops because that's the parent's biggest fear, right? Your biggest fear is to lose your child. And for those who are listening who have lost a child, especially to suicide, my heart literally breaks for you. It is my worst fear. And so he's so sick of me. He is sick of me. He's going to stay sick of me because every time I'm going to still do it. So when I'm done recording this, I'm going to go over there and be like, hey, give your mother a hug. Just want you to know how much I love you and how much I delight in being your mother. So whatever it is, but let them know. Let them know that your life would never be the same in a negative way if they were gone. And just see what happens. People are like, oh, that's not really our relationship, blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, if you'd rather write it in a eulogy, that's fine. But the stakes are pretty dang high. So if you've got somebody in your life that you're worried about, maybe they have told you, maybe they make a lot of jokes or whatever. This is one thing that you can do that all it does, the worst thing that happens is it lets people know that they are loved and cared for. Tragedy. Absolute tragedy to have more of that in the universe. Please. All right. Number 4, check in on them. Check in on them. I have heard so many people who are worried about somebody and they'll talk to their friends about being worried about this person. I've done it myself. I'm like, okay, well, like, are y'all worried about her? Because like I've been noticing this. At what point does it turn into gossip? Right? Like we don't want to gossip about it. If we need to huddle up with some other people and be like, okay, what's the strategy here? That's fine. What's not fine is having that session where we're talking about it, or it's like, you're worried about them? I'm worried about them too. Okay, well, let's just keep an eye on them. No, no, no. Check in on them. Check in on them. Call them. Text them. Show up to their house. FaceTime them. Write them a letter. They do still sell stamps. You can mail a letter. Email them. I don't care. I don't care how you reach out to them, but reach out to them. On more than one occasion, I have randomly reached out to somebody that I was, in fact, a little bit worried about. And I reached out to them and was just like, hey, how are you doing? And what they sent me back, it's happened to me twice. What they sent me back shook me, because it's one of those things where I trust the universe. Okay. I trust myself. So if I get a thought in my head of, hey, you need to check on this random person, I check on the random person. Okay. I'm just going to do it. I've learned that the universe is telling me that for some reason. Sometimes I get to find out the reason. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes it might be my ADHD brain going feral. That's fine. Again, checking in on somebody, it's never going to be a bad thing. It's not like I can be like, hey, how are you doing? And they're like, go to hell. That's not going to happen. Right. So, reach out to them in some way and check on them. Now, with these two people, what I did was I reached out and like, hey, how are you doing? And they replied with either, how did you know? Which is eerie. When you're texting at like 10:30 at night, when somebody just popped in my head, I can't sleep, I'm going to check on them. And then you find out that all that you get back is, how did you know? What do you mean? How did I know? How did I know what? Your phone number? It's programmed into my phone. Other than that, I'm clueless. And then it was, I just took a whole bottle of pills. Urgh! Okay. Then we got to get you help. And so we go through okay, I got to get help, meet you at the hospital, whatever. The other time it wasn't how, what did she say? It wasn't how did you know, but it was basically like, I don't really want to say, and I was like, what do you mean? What's going on? And it was like, I'm just staring at these pills, wondering how many it'll take. That's unfortunate. Can we talk about it? Can we have a moment? So, those times have happened, and when I did that, I literally was just texting to check on them. You never know when the message gets to somebody. You have no idea. So get out there and tell people how you feel about them and check in on them. And you're like, hey, scale of 1 to 10. That's one of my favorites. Hey, scale of 1 to 10. And then put some numbers. I like put some descriptions on it. 1 being a fresh cow patty, 10 being a David's Burgers patty. Okay, David's Burgers is a wonderful restaurant locally here. And let them go, okay, here I am on the scale. Or, you can do the stoplight, like red. Where are you at in your stoplight? Green, all good, all systems go. Yellow, I've been better. I'm struggling to get in the shower, but other than that, we're okay. And red is, I really think I might go ahead and hit this exit strategy. So whatever it is, however you check in on them, but give them a way to be honest with you, is essentially what I'm saying, like reduce some barriers there. All right. The last one is be there for them. Be there. Not here, be there. What does that mean? It's basically the checking in on them. It's basically that, but in person, or somehow where you can visually see them, see their eyeballs, do an eyeball check. All right. This is, do they need somebody to sit with them and do laundry? Okay. This is distracting them. This is taking them out to do something that they enjoy, taking them food, cooking them food, taking them to go get food. A lot of stuff happens around food. Whatever it is, but show up for them in a way that kind of marries everything together, right? These 5 strategies that I've given you. Be there for them. Go to them in person or on the phone. If they don't feel safe, and you're far away, do you want to fall asleep on a FaceTime call? I can do that. That's fine. Just put that thing on FaceTime and prop it up, and we can talk until one of us can't talk anymore, and we'll go to sleep. Okay. I mean, who is it that does that? Donnie Wahlberg and Jenny McCarthy. They spend a lot of the time apart, so they sleep together by going to sleep on FaceTime together. Great. That makes us feel less alone in the world. I love it. But be there for them in some way. If you show up in person, that's when we're going to listen without judgment. We're just going to let them talk. If there's awkward silences, you don't have to feel them. You don't have to feel those. Be there with them. Letting them know, hey, I don't know what to say or do here, but I'm not leaving your side right now, because you're there for them. You're going to tell them how much they mean to you. You don't need to overdo it. You don't need to oversell it. We don't want to argue with them. Oh my God, no. If you can't be there for them, check in on them and then make time to show up for them. They're outside of my framework, the EASE framework. Some of them really kind of, I guess a couple of them really hit on one of those. But these, I just wanted to give you some bite-sized little nuggets of like, okay, it gets overwhelming, right? I can't save the world. I'm not going to go over there and take a weapon out of their hand or anything like that. Some of you would. You're badasses, okay? I get it. And honestly, there's some situations I'd probably do that as well. But I'm not recommending that, because you want to keep yourself safe as well. So when we're thinking about like, what can we do for these people? And we have these grandiose things like, I can't stop them if they really want to. I can't stop them. There's nothing I can do. Yeah, there is. I just gave you 5 things right now that you can do that are not Herculean efforts. They're just little things that help us see other people and help them be seen, heard, valued, and loved. If we can do that, I mean, what could we do to the suicide rates if more people embrace this and embrace the awkward and embrace the uncomfortable, and we're like, you know what? I'd rather say it to them now than say it at their funeral. Great. Then get to work. So I have a poll on Spotify that I would love for you to engage with. One of these things probably spoke to you more than the other. So I've got the list of 5 things, which I want to be very clear. This is not an exhaustive list. These are not the only 5 things that you can do. These are just some of my favorites. Okay. But if you would mark which one's your favorite, which one speaks to you the most, mark it in the poll or leave a comment with something else you would do. Or if you're not on Spotify, that's fine. Just comment wherever you get your podcast. So my call to action for you today is I want you to pick one of these strategies that I outlined in this episode and give it a try. Maybe you're a naturally judgmental person. I know I am. And you need to practice listening without judgment. Maybe you are vulnerable with a friend who you know struggles with suicidal thoughts. You could reach out to somebody and let them know you are thinking of them and you are glad they're in your life. You could check in on someone randomly, whoever pops into your head. Or you could go up to them and spend some quality time helping them with whatever they need help with. But pick one and go out and do it and let me know how it goes. I cannot wait to hear the stories I get of, especially when people randomly select somebody that they've never done this for. And it's like, hey, just thinking about you, wanted to know if you're okay. And they text back, are you okay? Love those stories. So let me have them. They really feed my soul. The next episode is powerful. Okay. I interview a dear friend of mine who has gone through a lot in her life. And this includes thinking about suicide while going through the throes of domestic violence. It is such a powerful story, and she shares what helped her, what didn't, and how she believes she's now broken a generational curse. Guys, we both teared up when she was telling this part. It is a humdinger. I am so excited about it. You don't want to miss next week's episode, where we continue to learn how to intervene with ease.